Hi, my name is Schnell from the Homebrew Magic podcast, as well as MadeUpLabs.com, and today I'm going to be going through a from-scratch deck construction. So I am going to be building around Mazzy True Sword Paladin. So the reason I'm building around this one is because we did a Baldur's Gate draft a few weeks ago at a friend's house, and I ended up drafting Mazzy as my commander, running it, really liking it, even in that limited environment. It did not win, but I felt like I had a lot of control over what was going on and keeping myself out of the line of fire until I eventually ran out of tricks. So I figured if I built it with my own, supplies rather than just the draft, I could keep enough of those tricks in place, I could get enough of those answers, and I could keep everyone fighting each other until I could actually strike and take out, the last remaining player. So, as we can see here, Mazzy, True Sword Paladin, Halfling Knight for red, green, white, and 1. It's a 3/4 Halfling Knight. Whenever an enchanted creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +2/+0 and gains trample until the end of the turn. When an aura you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile it. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast that card. So I really like this effect because it pairs so well with the Impetus Goad Enchantments that are out there. Unfortunately, there are only 3 of them that work with this with this color combination, and that's a real problem. So one of the benefits of Mazzy is once you get those enchantments out there, when your opponents are swinging at each other and they're killing off each other's creatures, you're not going to lose those enchantments forever. You have the chance to recast them every turn that they do end up in the graveyard, so it gets a lot of utility out of those limited card pools. So the 3 Goad enchantments that we have are Martial Impetus, which is the white one, Shiny Impetus being the red one, and then Predatory Impetus, the green one. And again, like I said, those are the only ones that are of that type, where it's enchant that creature, it gets benefit, it gets goaded, and it's got to keep swinging at your opponent's stuff. So, and side note, I'm using Deck Builder, the app, for all my card searches. That's usually how I deck build to begin with. So, step 1, we've got our commander, Mazzy, and then we have a very limited pool. These 3 cards to start out with. So, the way I always deck build is I pick a theme or a commander, and in this case, they both go together. Even though the commander doesn't say Goad, it's going to be a Goad deck. So, when I go through and I do my search for unique cards that are, we'll set this to Commander Legal, containing the word Goad. What actually has the word Goad? We find 41 cards, which feels like a big chunk of the deck. Unfortunately, when I limited that down to the Naya color, I'm down to 26 cards, which I'm actually okay with, because one of the things I tend to do is pigeonhole myself into a keyword, and then once I'm on that keyword, I don't look anywhere else. But I've already got a few ideas with Mazzy to build outside of that little box that I'm constructing for myself. So I'm just going to go through those 26 cards and basically give them a thumbs up, thumbs down if they make the initial cut. And from there, we'll start to look into filling in those blank spots, putting in some removal, some ramp, some, a little bit more interaction than just the Goad stuff. So first up, we have a red 1-drop in Taunting Kobold. This one has haste. Whenever Taunting Kobold attacks, goad target creature and opponent controls. So it's a 1-drop. It's probably going to die when it swings, but it forces them to block with something. If there's tricks, and there could be tricks, at least we're still getting that goad trigger off the attack. So right now we're going to say that that's going to be in the list just because it says Goad. And we're probably going to include all 26 cards and then cut from there once we have the deck list going. So next up, Bloodthirsty Blade. I already know this one's making the cut just because it is wonderful and it's reusable. And reusable is the biggest thing right now with, again, that limited card pool of 60. But equipment for 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. And then for 1, you attach it to target creature and opponent controls, activated as a sorcery. Again, that's a really cool trick because normally equipment can only be equipped to creatures you control. So the activation to attach it to an opponent's creature makes it unique amongst equipment, and this one is just really, really good. So, obviously on the list. Grinzo Havoc Razor. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Goad target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library until the end of the turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. Despite the fact that this guy, I think, is TCG at $26, very expensive for a single piece of cardboard, I think I have a few copies, so he's absolutely going in the deck. I don't like that I need to actually hit my opponent and deal damage to get the goad effect, but we like it enough, and he's clearly worth it for both that goad and that secondary, see what you've got, see what I can steal. Insufferable Balladeer, 2-1 for 2 with Vicious Mockery. When he enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn and goad it. So it's on the ETB, so again, I'm going to get that regardless of whether the creature hits, which I really, really like. And then the extra, it can't block this turn, might pair well with when I do actually need to swing myself or get some of those Grinzo triggers. Popular Entertainer. Commander creatures you control, background for 2, red and 1. Whenever one or more of your creatures deals combat damage to a player, goad target creature that player controls. So you're getting that top Grinzo ability, just reusable every time Mazzy swings and hits, which, being a 3/4, she's a decent little creature, and if I have enough enchantments out there and buffs, which I'm planning on having, she should be able to swing through, or at least be enough of a threat that she's taking out stuff on her way to swing through and goad. Spectacular Showdown. Sorcery. Put a double strike counter on target creature, then goad each creature that had a double strike counter put onto it in this way. Overloads for 7. So this is going to be a very red heavy deck so far. Yes, that's going in the cut because for 7 mana, every single one of my opponent's creatures swings at every single one of my opponents. This is, most overload cards can be game finishers. I think this one could be very, very great for forcing somebody to take somebody else out of the game. So I'm not going to get, I don't think I'll get multiple players on this one, but it's a bit of a win con. Agitator Ant, 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, each player may put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature they control. Goad each creature that had a counter put on it in this way. See, this one might not make the cut, just because it's a May effect, and I don't like letting my opponents choose whether or not they want to succumb to my abilities. So this is, with only 26 cards that work with Goad, this is going to be the first on the chopping block. Besmirch. Until the end of the turn, gain control of target creature, and it gains haste. Untap and goad that creature. So not only do I get to swing with something, I get to give it back and then make it swing at somebody else. So absolutely going in the deck, because taking somebody else's creature for a turn, even for a turn for 3 mana, and then forcing it to go at somebody else, that's going to be a big, big game swing or game changer. Bothersome Quasit. 3/2 menace. Goaded creatures your opponent's control can't block. So again, messing with everyone's defenses. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, I'm hoping to cast a few, goad target creature and opponent controls. So it turns every other non-creature spell into a goad trigger. It's in the deck. It's in the deck. The Coronation of Chaos. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Goad them. Again, I like that they added the can't block mechanic to a lot of the goad stuff out of Baldur's Gate, because it gives you more utility than just, hey, you have to swing now. It's, now you can't block, so I can at least swing through. Because they can't block, I can get some of my guys that trigger on combat damage to hit in and get more goad triggers. So I'm goading the ones that can't block that I'm swinging past, and then maybe I'm goading the rest of what they've got. Kumano Battle Armor. Probably saying that wrong. This is a reconfigured creature, or equipment dog. 2/2 for 3, menace, so I like that already. Equipped creature gets 2/2/2 in menace. Whenever it or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, goad each player that creature controls. So menace is my favorite form of evasion, and then the dealing combat damage to trigger goad, great, goes in the deck. And again, mostly red so far. In fact, everything's red so far. Okay, so it's going to be mostly it's going to be a mostly red Naya Goad. This is an odd one. Lorene the Diversion, 3/3 first strike. She has partner, but the partner doesn't fit in the color scheme, so partner's not going to show up. For 2, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, goad target creature. So if I've got some treasures out there, if I've got a little creature that I don't care about anymore, say that the Vicious Mockery guy, once he's out and he hasn't done anything anymore, then I can just sacrifice him to make somebody else goad. 3/3 first strike for 3, passes the vanilla test, throwing it in the initial pile. Here we've got Martial Impetus, so that one we've already talked about, it's already in the pile. Shiny Impetus, same thing. Blood Boil Sorcerer. Whenever Blood Boil Sorcerer enters the battlefield, you take the initiative, so that throws the another mechanic out there, which I don't know. I haven't looked actually at, I think it's Undercity. Is that the... I don't remember the name of the dungeon that the initiative triggers, but with that one, I haven't looked at all the effects. I don't know, maybe there's a goad in there somewhere, but sacrifice an artifact or a creature, goad target creature. So the same effect as the diversion one that we just looked at. So again, if I've got extra resources or I'm scrambling at the end of the game just to goad a little bit more, we'll throw that in. Disrupt Decorum. Goad all creatures you don't control. So this one is same as that Overload card, except it's way cheaper. So this one is absolutely going in, and that Overload one might not make the final cut, but it's going in the initial pile. Because so far, like I said, with 26 cards, just over a quarter of the deck, everything's going to be goading, everything's going in the deck. Goblin Racketeer. Back to Conspiracy a little bit. Whenever it attacks, you may goad target creature defending player controls. So 4/2 for 2, not a great vanilla creature, but the goad is on the attack and not on combat damage. So yeah, I'm probably going to lose this guy, but I could swing, get the goad trigger, sacrifice him if he's going to be blocked and killed anyway, get an extra goad trigger with those other, with the diversion or the one that the Blood Boil one that does the same thing. This I did not expect going through for because I didn't remember Kamigawa having too much in the way of goading, but this big pig, Kaima the Fractured Calm, 3/3 Spirit for 4. At the beginning of your end step, goad each creature your opponents control that's enchanted by an aura you control. So he fits with Mazzy very, very well. And then put a +1/+1 counter on Kaimi, the Fractured, for each creature goaded this way. So again, he goes with the impetuses, impetuses, but he partners, or he pairs well with Mazzy. He goes with the other enchantments that I've got so far, and I've got a few ideas for the ones beyond that. Kit Kanto. This thing bugged the hell out of me when we did our what was the set? New Streets of New Capenna set box deck building challenge. So Chris built a very similar deck to me, except he had Kit Kanto as his commander, and being able to just command Tej to attack me every single round with his giant annoying dragon really, really ruined my experience. So I'm hoping now that I can do that to other people. Life of the Party. This guy, I don't think I'd seen prior. I didn't open, I guess, enough New Capenna besides my box. But a 0/1 first strike trample haste. Whenever he attacks, it gets +X+O until the end of the turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see how that plays out. But when he enters the battlefield, if it's not a token, each opponent creates a token that's a copy of it, and the tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. So if my opponents are going wider than I am, they can go real tall with this first strike trample haste guy, and they can send them at each other all day long. Next up, Maurici, Breaker of the Coil. Out of C19. I don't know if... I know I have this guy. I don't know if I played a lot with the C19 decks. But 5/4 for 4. I like that already. Your opponent can't cast spells during combat, so cut down on the tricks. The only trick should be mine, and they should be enchantment speed or enchantments at sorcery speed anyway. When a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls. So this deck so far is going to have a couple of hidden commanders in the 99 that are just going to keep helping Mazzy by doing similar effects. Vengeful Ancestor. This guy is, I know he was a reprint from I think the first D&D set. Either way, 3/4 flyer for 4. Enters the battlefield or attacks, goad target creature. Whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. Again, with the amount of goading, I'm hoping that this will weaken every single opponent while they're swinging at each other and just leaving me the hell alone. That by the time I'm making my final strike of the game, that they're low enough that I only have to hit them like once or twice and they're out. Baloth Baratil the Entertainer. Big elf shaman, which I keep thinking he's a vampire, but he's probably just a drow. I actually picked up a foil borderless one because I was going to build this deck initially, and then I played in the draft and pulled Mazzy and went, why limit myself to just red, when obviously most of the goad effects are red to begin with, but having green and white available gives me a few more options. So, creatures your opponents control with a power less than him are goaded. Whenever goaded attacking or blocking creature dies, I create a treasure token. So I'm giving myself some mana ramp off of him. I'm also getting more artifacts that if I need to sacrifice for those other goad effects, like we saw earlier, I've got those lined up. We've got the Predatory Impetus. We finally hit that green card. This thing is weird. Death Kiss. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, one of your opponents, double its power until the end of the turn. And then, whenever he becomes monstrous, goad up to X target creatures your opponents control. So, I like the static effect. I don't know, like the one-shot goad thing is okay. We'll see if it actually comes up. But 5/5 for 6, he's very, very slow to show up. And I'd hope to be goading early and often. But doubling the power of a goaded creature, great, because again, they're not coming at me anyway. And then I think lastly here we've got Geode Rager. 4/3 first strike. Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, goad each creature target player controls. So despite being a 6-drop and showing up end of the game, I like this guy because the landfall trigger late game means that every card now is either going to be one of the ones that I put in the 99 that I wanted its effect, or it's a land that I now turn into a goad effect, which will work well with everything else I've got out there. So, just with those out there, I've got 26 cards, 25 in the 99, Mazzy being one of those 26 with goad, and I'm already going to start looking at stuff outside those goaded or goading cards. One of the ones that we came up with is Gahijiti. I don't know how. I'm sorry, I'm adding a T in there. Gahiji, Honored One. 4/4 for 5, not legendary creature, Naya Beast. Again, another hidden commander in this deck. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents or a planeswalker an opponent controls, that creature gets +2/+0 until the end of the turn. So, not goad per se, but just encouraging people to fight amongst themselves while I can sit and do whatever the hell we want. On that, on the list of just general cards that we want in the deck, we're throwing in Naya Charm. Naya Charm, choose one. It deals 3 damage to target creature. That's okay. Lightning Bolt for 3 isn't great, but return target card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. We like that because, again, with the limited pool of goad cards, being able to bring something back is going to be really, really useful. And then the last mode is tap all creatures target player controls. This should let us swing through or let my opponent swing through on somebody else while I'm making them fight. Okay, so since we've exhausted all of the goad cards, now we're going to start examining a little bit wider, looking for stuff that is just generally good within our colors, that might fit with the theme, or stuff that might keep us keep us alive long enough while the enemies fight it out. So we've come to Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. 5/4 legendary Ogre Warrior. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if I'm the defending player, create a 3/3 red Ogre creature token unless that creature's controller pays 3. So I like this guy just because everything that they're sending my way is going to get a 3/3 blocker unless they're exhausting resources to stop it. So we like him. We're going to throw him in there as a great defensive card. I've seen him run previously. Other than the 5-drop being heavily costed and being a creature, meaning there's a lot to take him out, I like this guy, and I think just throwing out a lot of tokens that might be bigger, might be smaller. Either way, I'm getting more bodies on the field and forcing them to tap out if I am the target. Next up, War's Toll. So War's Toll is an enchantment for 4. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. If a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that opponent controls attack if able. So again, forcing them to make stupid decisions, attacking with Birds of Paradise or other crap that they don't want to be swinging with, so they'll have to spend them as mana in the pre-combat main phase. It eliminates tricks, it eliminates options for them, and if they're goaded and one creature has to attack, they all have to attack. This, I think, will wreck somebody's entire day. Tangarth, First Mate, another C19 card. 5/5, lots of legendary creatures in this deck so far. He can't be blocked by more than one creature. And then whenever an opponent attacks with one or more creatures, if Tangarth is tapped, you may have that opponent gain control of Tangarth until the end of the turn. If you do, choose a player or planeswalker that opponent is attacking. Tangarth is attacking that player or planeswalker. So throwing Tangarth out there, he gets around. He will hit the table and then start swinging at everybody else when everybody else is swinging. So there is potential for him attacking, in a 4-player game 4 times before it gets back to me anyway. So we're going to throw him in there. If he dies, he dies. He's a 4/4 for 5, and they have to solo him. So I think Tangarth has a potential to really, really help me out and hurt my opponents and stick around for a while, honestly. Because again, a 5/5, that's pretty good. Mengara the Diplomat. 2/4 legendary creature, human cleric, lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or a planeswalker you control, draw a card. So disincentivizing them from attacking me to give me, advantages. And then whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. Card draw is great. If they're going to be doing a bunch of stuff, I get more I'll get more cards anyway. So 2/4 lifelink. Probably not huge body, but having that 4 toughness means he's outside of bolt range. Not that you're going to see a ton of bolt in EDH because it's singleton. But next, Jolene, the Plunder Queen. First off, love that the name rhymes. Jolene, the Plunder Queen is just great. 2/2 for 4, legendary creature. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. If you would create one or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token, and then sacrifice 5 to put 5 +1/+1 counters on her. So, incentivizing my opponents to attack each other, and if I'm attacking my opponents, I also create treasures. I just get twice as much because she's the queen of the plundering. Combat Calligrapher. This guy I didn't expect to pop up in the search, but I worded it in such a way that I found this weirdo. 3/3 flyer, Inklings can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. Whenever a player attacks one or more opponents, that attacking player creates a tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token that's with flying that is attacking that opponent. So again, if you're going to be swinging at anyone other than me, you'll get extra bodies on the field, and more importantly, those bodies cannot attack me. Miri, Weatherlight Duelist, 3/2 first strike. Whenever Miri attacks, each opponent can't block with more than one creature this combat. So that is huge, because if I do need to swing out, if I need to get those combat-based or those damage-based goad triggers, I swing with Miri and everything else, and then they have to choose one thing to block. So either Miri's getting through, or I'm getting my goad triggers, and they're going to be swinging at everyone else on the crackback. As long as Miri Weatherlight Duelist is tapped, no more than one creature can attack you each combat. That's also the big thing. Preventing the crackback from the non-goaded creatures, or at least limiting it as best I can. So if I'm swinging, they're not going to be swinging back at me. Blade of Selves is a really good card. I don't know if it's going to make the final cut, though, because I have so many legendaries, and it doesn't create non-legendary token copies? Yeah, I do not create non-legendary token copies. So, Blade of Selves, we'll see if I have enough stuff in there that it'll actually work for. And then, moving on to our next batch of cards. So, for ramp, if we just take all the signets that fit in our color scheme, we've got Boros Signet, Gruul's Signet, and Selesnia's Signet, and that's 3 more slots eaten up right there. So, for our next batch of cards, we went ahead and looked for anything that aura enchantments for creatures that don't bestow the abilities to the creatures. They just trigger off of the creatures attacking, dealing damage, etc. So, the first one we have here, Keen Sense, for 1 green, enchantment aura. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. And again, it doesn't matter who controls the creature as long as it's dealing damage to an opponent. Laccolith Rig. When enchanted creature becomes blocked, you may have it deal damage equal to its power to target creature. If you do, enchanted creature deals no combat damage this turn. This thing, I think, can lead to some really silly interactions, because again, I'm not controlling the creature, I'm just controlling the damage, and if I'm goading it and making them swing, I can use this as spot removal, possibly reusable spot removal, but again, we'll see how things play out on this one. One with Nature. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a basic land, put that into play tapped, then shuffle. So, reusable ramp, and over and over and over again, we hope to just get all the lands out of our deck, or late game start doing those that landfall trigger for goading. Spirit Link. This is a classic one. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So, it's not lifelink, it's not going to the creature's controller, it's going to the enchantment controller. So, that is a very old trick to just make sure that they're not swinging at me, and I'm benefiting even if they are. Armadillo Cloak, same thing as Spirit Link. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage, you gain that much life. That is my enchantment, that is my life. I'm just giving you +2/+2 and trample. And then again with Mazzy, I can hopefully get that back if the creature ends up dying. Curse of Hospitality. Enchant player. Creatures attacking enchanted player have trample. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to enchanted player, that player exiles the top card of their library until the end of the turn. That creature's controller may play that card, and they may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. This one, I don't know if it's going to stay in the deck because it does help everybody, but it does really mess with one person specifically. So, that is going into our initial cut. Insolence. Whenever enchanted creature becomes tapped, it deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Nothing like making them swing and then hurting them because of it. Luminous Wake. Whenever enchanted creature attacks or blocks, gain 4 life. That one's kind of cool. Whenever enchanted Lust for War. Whenever enchanted creature becomes tapped, Lust for War deals 3 damage to that creature's controller, and enchanted creature attacks each turn if able. So, forcing them to attack, and then Mazzy, when she's out there, incentivizes them to attack somebody else at least. Prison Term, this one is just shut them down, and then whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, I may attach Prison Term to that creature. So, shut down the biggest threat. If a newer threat comes along, swap it over there. And then, lastly for this batch is Eldrazi Conscription. This is just, if I've got the mana out there, this is my game ender. If I put this on Baloth, then all of my opponent's creatures have a lower power than him, so they'll all be goaded. So Eldrazi Conscription is going to go in there just because it's a game ender and it's a day ruiner. So that adds 10 more cards, leaving 18 slots left. So now let's look for some spot removal or responses that we can run in Naya to help deal with some stuff out there. So for the next batch of cards, we're looking at instant speed interaction as either answers or tricks. So we are starting out with Emerge Unscathed. One white instant, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until the end of the turn, and it has Rebound, which means you can cast it again during the next upkeep from exile without paying for it, which is really cool. Because, again, I've got those combat and those damage triggers, so being able to have my creature swing through unblocked because of protection, or just keeping them alive because of protection, I think will be very, very helpful in this deck. Erase. Exile target enchantment at instant speed for 1 white. Enchantment removal is the most important thing in the game. There are so many powerful enchantments in this stupid game. Being able to just get rid of it for one white, and it doesn't destroy, it's gone from the game. March of Otherworldly Light. Instant for white and X, exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with a mana value of X or less. So I like this one because it's artifact, creature, or enchantment. Yes, you have to pay the mana value, but you can also just exile a number of white cards from your hand to reduce the cost by 2. So if I'm desperate enough, I can pitch cards. Otherwise, I should be able to just pay for whatever thing I need to remove. Path to Exile, pretty much a staple in any EDH deck that's running white. Praise Vengeance. Target creature gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn, and it has Rebound. So again, it's an extra casting for free, and it's a 1 green drop. So combat trick, just make my thing a little bit bigger, and then make something bigger at the next round, and then decide if they even need to attack then. Swords to Plowshares. Again, I'm running white. There's no reason not to. Ancient Grudge, artifact removal, and it's reusable. So it's 2 artifact removal cards for different costs, but for 1 physically printed card. Center Soul, I came across this one in my search. Target creature gains protection from the color of your choice until the end of the turn, and it has Rebound. So again, it's like Emerge Unscathed, but it's 1 extra, so it's an extra copy of the same card. And again, protection from a specific color can be super huge in response to tricks or removal, or just giving them protection and then swinging through and making them either use removal or just taking the damage and being goaded in this instance. Dual Strike out of Kaldheim. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcerer spell with a mana value of 4 or less this turn, copy it and choose new targets. Because this foretells for 1 red, and then I can just pay 2 colorless on top of something else, I think this will be really good at doubling up on some of my really, really low casting costs, tricks or removal. So being able to path 2 different things for 3 mana, I think will be worth it in the end. Ray of Revelation, destroy target enchantment. Again, it's a destroy effect, so it doesn't exile specifically, but Ray of Revelation has flashback for a green, so this one's going to be good because I can use it twice, or if it ends up in my graveyard for whatever reason, I can always flash it back from my graveyard to answer those annoying enchantments that are out there. So with that batch of 10, we've got 8 card slots left in the deck. We've got a little bit of ramp so far, but we should throw in the obviously a Soul Ring, so that's 7 slots remaining, and we'll find something real quick for those last 7 slots. Okay, so for our last few card slots here, we opened up the search not basically to find Goad without the Goad keyword, because in the back of my mind I thought there were a few effects out there that did that, but I couldn't think of them until I widened my search and just looked for key language in the card text. So, the first one for our last little batch here, Spectral Grasp. 2 enchantment. Enchanted creature can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. Enchanted creature can't block creatures you control. So again, doesn't force them into attack, but they can't attack me or block me, so that's going to be huge. Ghostly Prison, that one is just great to, again, disincentivize them attacking me. Nils, Discipline Enforcer, absolutely hate this card. Chris knows I hate this card. Chris is the reason why I hate this card. It's this political garbage that I don't like, but I'm going to run it because I know how annoying it can be. And I can buff up my own creatures in the process because it's for each player, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature that player controls. These last three here were the series that I knew existed, but I couldn't think of the names of them. Vow of Duty. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 vigilance, can't attack you or planeswalker you control. The Vow of Lightning, +2/+2 first strike, and again, can't attack you or your planeswalkers. And then Vow of Wildness, 3/3 and trample, and can't attack creatures you control. So that is the first draft of my Mazzy deck. I'm probably going to run this one the next time we record, which I think will be episode 47 or 48. I'm not 100% sure. I've got more editing to do and more stuff to upload. But watch out for that deck's premiere. We'll see how it opens up, and then we'll see what changes we make going forward. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know if this is something that you guys want to see more of, and if so, I can put more of them together. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.